Hello and welcome to my presentation on the anatomy of hardware reverse engineering, an exploration of human factors during problem solving, which was recently published in the ACM Transactions on Computer-Human Interaction. My name is Steffen Becker and this is joint work with Carina Wiesen, René Walendy, Christof Paar and Nikol Rummel.
Embedded microelectronics in the form of microchips provide the foundation of trust for numerous modern-day applications. For example, for autonomous driving, in our energy grids, or in everyday appliances such as robot vacuums or smartwatches. Subverting the security of such devices at the hardware level is a dangerous and stealthy threat and is most likely already being pursued by a number of nation-state threat actors. This is evidenced by the billions of dollars in the European Union and United States who are currently investing to restore control over microchip supply chains via their respective CHIPS Acts. In this context, one specific yet powerful attack vector to undermine the security of microchips is the process of hardware reverse engineering, or short HRE, which we investigate in our paper. HRE can be the starting point for a number of illegal purposes, such as introducing hardware trojans or infringing intellectual property. While the technical aspects of hardware reverse engineering have been researched for nearly 3 decades, we are specifically interested in the human factors that enable successful reverse engineering. We pursue this approach with a similar intent to that evident in the field of human-centered security, as discussed in Eva Wolfangel's opening keynote. To impede reverse engineering-based attacks and therefore develop effective defenses, we must first understand the attacker's mindset, their motivation and strategies in detail. So let's first take a closer look at what hardware reverse engineering actually is. HRE usually starts with a microchip, a piece of silicon that implements one or several functions, for example, cryptographic algorithms, general-purpose processors, or communication interfaces. The goal of the attacker is to understand the circuit, at least partially. To this end, they extract a circuit diagram, the so-called netlist, from the chip. A digital netlist consists of a high number of millions of components, the gates, and their interconnections. Here we can see a snippet from a larger netlist. The goal of the reverse engineer is now to make sense of this unstructured sea of gates. To investigate this HRE sense-making process, we have established a model for HRE. On the one side is the technical part, where the reverse engineer runs a combination of manual and semi-automated analyses. On the other side, there are the cognitive processes of the reverse engineer, which steer the analysis. However, there has been little research on the latter. As such, reverse engineer strategies and crucial cognitive factors remain poorly understood. Thus, our overarching research goal with this work is to achieve an initial understanding of the human factors influencing the success of HRE. To give you an idea of how HRE works in practice, I'm going to show you a time-lapse of a reverse engineer investigating a small netlist. The reverse engineer's goal in the case at hand was to recover a mathematical formula describing the function that the netlist performs. To achieve this, the analyst utilized the state-of-the-art HRE software HAL, which is available under open source license on GitHub. Most importantly, HAL comprises a viewer, as you can see on the left, showing the circuit, and a Python editor on the right, and both of these tools can be used to interact with the netlist. As this example is just intended to give you an intuition of the process, please don't pay too much attention to the code that will be shown on the screen. In the beginning, the reverse engineer loads the netlist into HAL. Next, they start exploring individual gates and their connectivity in search for a suitable attack target. First manually, then by developing a small Python script which helps them highlight some interesting parts of the netlist. Now, the reverse engineer has found an interesting set of target gates and wants to validate their target selection. In this step, the reverse engineer needs to infer what function each part of the netlist performs. A common technique, which we can also see here, is the recovery of higher-level structures of the netlist by finding and grouping related gates. Again, the reverse engineer makes use of both visual inspection and small automations that they script in Python. Together, these approaches help them to reduce the unordered sea of gates to just 3 central functional blocks. After detecting and verifying these blocks of interest, they can now realize the actual attack. In this case, this means designing an algorithm that generates a formula describing the Boolean function performed by one of the 3 modules. The final output is shown at the bottom right. For our study, we now recruited participants to solve a realistic HRE study task with the HAL reverse engineering framework I just introduced. Since HRE experts are scarce and usually not available for such studies, we recruited 8 intermediate-level participants who had successfully completed a 14-week course on HRE. In addition, we were able to recruit 1 expert through our professional network. While the participants solved the task in HAL, we recorded detailed behavioral log files, including all their manual and script-based interactions with the netlist. We then went on and conducted a qualitative content analysis of the log files via an iterative open coding, where 3 researchers first described each observed action, compared it to the previous step, and then explained the observed behavior. From the codes, which emerged during our qualitative content analysis, we derived a detailed hierarchical taxonomy of the HRE processes, which is divided into 2 main categories. The first category, reversing actions, includes the steps taken and strategies chosen during reverse engineering. One important observation here are the various types of reversing problems that our participants encountered. As previously stated, developing automations is a central supporting activity during HRE. Hence, our second category comprises various facets of code development. Finally, we observed a few external factors that influenced our participants, such as software bugs or external interruptions. As our taxonomy is only derived from a single realistic task, it could likely be extended through the observation of other HRE tasks. However, it equips us with the means to analyze strategies of reverse engineers in detail and includes valuable information on obstacles and roadblocks encountered by them. With this in mind, let's take a deeper look into the reversing problems we observed. In our taxonomy, the groups of codes is further split into clusters: confusion, failed attempts, and lack of understanding. In this figure, you can see the relative frequency of each cluster in each participant's data. It is noticeable that not a single participant, including the expert, completed the study task without encountering one or multiple roadblocks along the way. As such, confusion, lack of understanding, and the choice of inappropriate strategies seem to be common factors that slow down HRE. However, some participants could still cope better with those problems than others. Our findings support that both expertise and cognitive abilities play a role for HRE success. As shown in this figure, we observed a slight negative correlation between the total solution time of the task and participants' working memory scores, an IQ subscore which helps them to temporarily keep chunks of information in mind. These findings open an avenue for a new research direction, which we coin cognitive obfuscation, a new set of methods developed to prevent illegitimate reverse engineering by impeding the human sense-making processes. So, let me conclude with a brief overview of our research contributions and an outlook on some potential future work. Hardware reverse engineering is an attack vector threatening the security of microchips. In our work, we shed first light on the human factors influencing HRE success by establishing a hierarchical problem-solving taxonomy for HRE, which we then used to classify the individual strategies of reverse engineers. More on this in the paper. Based on our results, we defined HRE as a type of problem solving that builds on both expertise and cognitive abilities, the latter being the foundation for a first sketch of cognitively demanding challenges, which ultimately aim to impede attacks based on hardware reverse engineering. As our results to date are based on qualitative analysis, further quantification of cognitive factors and problems of reverse engineers would be worthwhile. Lastly, first prototypes of cognitive obfuscation could be built and tested in practical and realistic settings. With this, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. Please take a look into our paper, and if you have any thoughts or questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us via email or talk to us in person in Hamburg.